It's a happy, happy day here at My Osprey TV and the Osprey Observer podcast because for 2 years we've been trying to secure this interview with one of my favorite people, Liane Crabtree. Liane, I am so excited that we finally found a date that we could put together and actually do an interview.
Yes.
So I'm going to do a quick little introduction. Liane is somebody you all want to know. She's one of the favorite people in the world because what she provides is a gift that keeps on giving. She is the owner of LeAnne's Old Fashioned Cookies, and there is a wonderful story behind this company. I'm so excited to share it with you, but it's also a local hometown, homegrown business that provides sweet treats. So I'm so excited that you're able to join us. And if you are a client of the Osprey Observer and you're fortunate enough that your ad rep thinks highly enough of you, you might get some of these treats at Christmas time, at the holidays, because we make it part of our holiday corporate giving. So, Liane, we really appreciate your partnership with us through the business, and we love LeAnne's Old Fashioned Cookies. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marie. It's been a pleasure to work with you all these years for sure.
Oh my goodness. You just make everything so much fun. And if anybody's also ever come to our Bullfrog Creek bingos, LeAnne's Cookies is always a part of our bingo prizes. They're very well received. But all that in a row, I don't want to decline telling people what are LeAnne's Cookies. When you introduce yourself for the first time, how do you describe LeAnne's Old Fashioned Cookies?
Well, they are definitely a delicious way to say thank you to your clients. And that is our tagline. But there's a story behind all of this.
Yes, there is. And I do want you to tell it in your words, because I could tell it in my words. And being a UCF mom, go Knights, I'm always proud of that connection that we can make with UCF as well.
Sure. Well, LeAnne's Old Fashioned Cookies started as my college marketing project when I was at the University of Central Florida. I was given the task by my professor to figure out a product or service I could sell, preferably something I was very passionate about. Lay out that marketing plan, and at the end of the semester, show if I had a profit or a loss. But as I left his class that day, I had no idea what product or service I was going to sell. But my parents, it was very clear to them. They're like, Liane, you love to bake, and you're surrounded by hungry college students who love to eat. And so cookies was my choice. But as I started researching the requirements to bake and sell these cookies, I quickly learned that I couldn't legally do it from my apartment kitchen. Now, what was I going to do? I was on a very tight college budget, and this was just a marketing project. I had no idea if it would work. But just like God does, I had made friends with the owners of a pizza shop right next to the Publix that I worked at. And Tony and his brother Mike came through my line this particular day, and they knew something was wrong, and they had to ask. And as I started sharing about this project and not having a place to bake the cookies, they just looked at me and said, Liane, when you're done, come see us. We have your answer. And what Tony and his brother Mike were willing to do is let us use their facilities, their ovens, all of their equipment, never charged us anything, just wanted to be a love, a support, and encourage us in any way that they could. It took us a little while, my husband and I, to figure out how to bake cookies in a pizza oven. But once we accomplished that, I started selling cookies like crazy on the campus. And in no time, I was making a profit. But not just a profit, I was now making more selling cookies than I was working at Publix. So when it got time to turn that project in, I knew I was going to get a fantastic grade. How could I not? Everyone loved the cookies. But when I got that project back, my heart sank and I was devastated because across the top, what I saw was a C-. You see, the professor thought people were becoming too health conscious and would no longer buy cookies. Therefore, our business would never survive. As I shared this with Tony and Mike, they asked me one powerful question. They said, Liane, now that this project is over, do you still want to sell these cookies? And my answer was yes. And they said, do not let this college professor kill your dreams. You will always have a place to bake your cookies here with us. And that was a defining moment for us. But God brought other people into my life in this time frame. And one of these was a college professor that bought cookies from me all the time. And as I was nearing graduation, she invited me into her office yet again, of course, bought cookies. And as we were talking and she was enjoying the cookies, she said, Liane, I think where your company's headed is to the corporate gift side. And she sat there that afternoon and poured into me, telling me what that meant. And she said, if you figure out a way to put these cookies in a gift basket, the business world's going to love you just like we do. And she was exactly right. She defined our niche that day.
That is such a beautiful story, LeAnne, and I just love it. Now, there's one little tidbit I heard in that telling this
Mm-hmm.
time that I hadn't realized before. So, when you were a student at UCF at this time, you already were married?
No,
Oh, okay. He became your future husband,
right. So he
but
was a
he was
boyfriend
already
first. Yeah.
involved
He
right
was
at the
already
beginning.
involved. Yes.
Okay, so he knew cookies were going to be involved in your life together no matter what.
Yes.
And I do want to describe these because, especially, I became appreciative of your company and your business when we were during the pandemic, because you
Mm-hmm.
already had a pandemic option, which is in your box sets that are beautifully cellophane wrapped with a gorgeous bow. And we will put a picture in this. They're already individually wrapped in the package. And I wrote down the 6 types of cookies. LeAnne's Old Fashioned Cookies is a company with 6 variations of cookies. My favorite thing ever is the fudge spectacular. Back off, people. Everyone in this office knows you better not take the last fudge spectacular, a little oatmeal square with decadent chocolate fudge in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
One of those has to be put on my desk every time these come in. Chocolate chipperoons speaks for themselves. Chocolate chip pecan, white chocolate macadamia, oatmeal raisin, which I don't think gets enough credit in this world because I love oatmeal raisin cookies with my coffee, and peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your tried and true 6 variations. Have you always had the 6, or did you start with less and build up to 6? Tell me about that.
We started with one. We started with the chocolate chip cookie.
Okay.
And then as we built and started getting into the corporate gift world, and they'll read the story of how the coconut chipperoon was developed in my book. But as we started going and calling on clients and building the gift market back here in the Brandon area, we knew we had to add more. So those cookies all came in line eventually.
And
Over
did I
time.
say coconut chip or chocolate chip? Because now I'm
I
thinking
think you
like,
said coconut
oh, I
chipperoon.
hope
But
I said coconut. If not, then
that's what
let
it
me
is.
get the readers on. So
Either way.
either way, we'll make sure that people know you have a coconut
Right.
chip, which is also a bar that is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely decadent and delicious. And then corporate gifts. We've also been able to use these gifts as baby shower gifts, as
Mm-hmm.
new baby gifts. We love when there's somebody that has a significant milestone birthday. You've got a classic card that you can build a cookie tower in.
Mm-hmm.
And we just love the concept of your business. And greedily, we're local because we know
Mm-hmm.
you can deliver your cookies to our office right here in Valrico. However,
Mm-hmm.
your specialty is actually corporate gifts outside of this area, right? At the holidays, I understand you have multiple trucks that head out for shipping.
Yes, we ship with UPS. So
Okay.
anywhere in this country, and we do this all year round. So UPS is our friend, and
Okay.
we're shipping out. Normally, we don't ship on Fridays because nothing moves over the weekend with UPS. So
Okay.
if it's out of state, depending on how far out it is, a lot of those ship on Monday. So Monday's a very busy day for us.
And I know there's very specific instructions that come with your cookies because when I receive them here in my office and I get a box of cookies, I know they're good for a certain amount of time. Tell me
Right.
about the process of maintaining freshness of our LeAnne's cookies.
Well, for you guys, once you receive them, if you don't eat them right away, which many people do, but if you want them to last, they can just go into your freezer and you can pull them out as you need them. And a
Okay.
lot of our people do that. And
Perfect. And these are made with the best ingredients. Everything's made from scratch kitchens, and these
Mhm.
are your proprietary recipes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And this has been a wonderful journey, I know, for you over the last few years. You've
Mhm.
really expanded your brand and your marketing.
Mhm.
And you've also brought us a book, a special book, God Has a Sweet Tooth. And I know have been some fortunate people, such as myself. I should have dug out my signed copy, but when I was
Mhm.
cleaning off my desk for the show, I kind of tucked it away somewhere. But I am fortunate to have a copy of God Has a Sweet Tooth. Tell me about that journey and that publication.
Well, when I began coaching with Steve Hopper, one of his requirements is every single one of his clients will write a book.
Okay.
Okay. But what Steve didn't know with that requirement, he was meeting a prayer that my dad had prayed for years. Because he told me from the time, basically, I got out of college, your story's amazing. You should write a book. And I tell him, yeah, Dad, someday. But the reality is, I didn't know how to make that happen, and neither did he. But when I started coaching with Steve, I quickly knew that he was the man that God brought into my life to make this dream a reality. And as I started writing, as we started laying out the book and I started writing chapter by chapter, Steve quickly saw the amazing relationship that I had with my dad, not just as father and daughter, but what a vital part of our business he was. And in one of our coaching sessions, he said, "LeAnne, your dad needs to write the final chapter of your book." And I agreed. That would have been great. Unfortunately, during the same time frame, my dad had been diagnosed with leukemia, and it was taking over his body very, very quickly. And in no time, he was sleeping 20 to 22 hours a day. So we had small windows, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes if we were lucky. And we poured into him and he poured into us, and then he'd be back asleep. But just like what God does, he orchestrated this particular day perfectly, even though it didn't seem perfect to me. Because as I arrived to Tampa General, it was late. There was only about 10 or 15 minutes left of the visitation hours when I got to his room. But when I opened his door, he was wide awake. And he looked at me and said, "LeAnne, where have you been? I've been waiting all day. Pull up a chair. I need to pour into you." And so as we started the conversation and he started making sure that I knew how to do everything he had always done for our company, where to find things, how I was going to do this, the conversation was an hour and a half. And as we finished, he wanted to make sure I knew all those things. It's absolutely amazing, beautiful things that he told me that I had needed. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not going to be here on this earth much longer. So I need to pour this into you. And God was in those moments. As I shared this with Steve, he said, "LeAnne, your dad has helped you write the final chapter of that book, because I'm going to help you include this conversation and recreate it and put it in that book." And the lives that we've seen this conversation alone touch have touched our heart. And every story that comes in just means something, because we know that in God's perfect timing, he knew when I needed to be there, although I had planned to be there earlier that day, but he knew when my dad was going to be awake. And it was absolutely beautiful.
It's divine intervention. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful, LeAnne. And what a gift that you're able to share that story in your book.
Mm-hmm.
God Has a Sweet Tooth. That is wonderful.
Well, and there's something else that I don't even know if you know yet.
Oh,
but book 2 is in the process of being written.
No kidding. Oh,
and it's going to be called The Encourager.
Okay.
And so many people have reached out to me and said, "I feel like I know your dad. I wish I would have known your dad." And so he's going to start with his stories and his background, and all of that is going to start the book, The Encourager, so that you can get a feel for how he's encouraged others, how he's encouraged me, and and of course, most importantly, how God can be our encourager through our businesses and through our life.
How special. Well, wonderful. Well, that gives us something to look forward to, LeAnne. How absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. You have multiples. You have many stories to share, and people can actually get even more through God Has a Sweet Tooth. So that's available right now. And then The Encourager will be up and coming, and we'll be able to feature that.
There will be a book signing. So
of course, yes, we must do a book signing. Yes. I believe we must have an event, and there might even be some cookies there, right? So we might get lucky. We might be doubly fortunate on that day. Well, LeAnne, tell us how people can get a hold of your company, get a hold of you, and possibly get an order of LeAnne's cookies delivered.
Okay. Well, they can go to our website, leannescookies.com. They can contact me by email at leanne@leannescookies.com. If they want a copy of the book that's autographed by me, then go to godhasasweettooth.com. And if they want to place a phone, they want to call me by phone, it's 813-651-0045.
And I'll just spell it so everybody knows. It's LeAnne, LeAnne.
Yes.
And then old-fashioned cookies, and you'll be able to find her. Thank you so much, LeAnne, for finally having the opportunity. I think this was also divine intervention, that our schedules could connect and we're able to do this interview today. And now we have something to look forward to with The Encourager. Thank you for being here. Thank you for for providing sweet treats. I think they're little blessings that we can deliver to people on a daily basis. So we appreciate you and your partnership. And I can't wait for that press release for your second book. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.